Yeah, assalamu alaikum. Good morning, class. Yeah, why did we stop last time, please? Production. Okay, we stopped at production. Which means we are finished with labor and labor market now. Cool? Then under production, we finish with all the factors of production too.
I think we just define the concept.
Okay. Okay. The concept of production. Okay, which means I'm not going deep into the factors. That is speaking of land, labor, and capital.
Yes, so we speak about them, but just this reward.
Okay, the reward for each of those factors of production, yes. At speaking of land, we said rent go, and labor we said wages and salaries. While for capital we talk about profit. Yes. Then what we're trying to look at now is maybe apart from these factors of production that we need to also understand, or maybe recall rather, is this question of types of production. So, we have primary production, secondary production, and tertiary production, all those ones. You know, when you go deep into the firms and what they're doing there, you'll have a whole lot to understand there too. Most especially looking at the primary production, like how people are looking at it. Most especially in Nigeria here, majority of what we produce at large quantities is from the primary production side. That is the production of raw materials. And these raw materials are normally taken to either some of the factories we have here or abroad. The majority of the time is abroad. And they bring it back to us at a very high cost. Most especially when you look at our crude oil. Our crude oil, we are engaging in just the ordinary primary production there. You give them the crude oil, they refine it and bring it back in different forms. They give us the LNG, they give us the petrol, and all other things that you can think about. Morning. So that is why we find out that it's important for you to also have a look at this kind of politics. And then we talk about the secondary production. Yes, our factories are not strong enough. And we've been trying to see how we can talk about, they talk about finished goods there from secondary production, I hope. The way we kind of have our own factories here, the factories don't normally operate, most especially as a result of these challenges of power. But people have been evolving, all of the Nigerians have been evolving rather. They've been looking for this alternative power supply of this solar. And things are already happening. People are making it. However, we found out that sometimes, there is this kind of saying I used to say that this hydroelectric power, this NEPA, as we used to call it in those days, Ikon Alani. Go? When we use that the word NEPA, Ikon Alani, we are trying to kind of show people that, or let me say, remind people that there are some things, no matter how you would want to use this solar, you can't just go there. Because the solar is always conserving energy to a battery. And it gives out in DC form. Even though sometimes it can still give out the AC too. Cool? But you find out that even if it's given out in AC, you'll be kind of looking for ways to conserve energy. But at the end of the day, it's still, the AC is still being converted from a battery. So no matter how you would want to use it solidly for some factory heavy machines, solar cannot actually handle that. That is why we still need that power. And in fact, they themselves have found a way of trying to kind of, let me say, redirect it to the factories now. Because that is where they normally get their pay. They now sell it in form of this blue line. Cool? That is why you see light there. And where people are already tired of this, their wahala, they've already gone to the alternative source. So our factories need this energy. They need it for this finished production, for this finished goods that we're talking about. So it's one of the challenges that you have to actually look at, but not actually at secondary school level, but for your own consumption as an economist and as an educationist at the same time. Because sometimes we don't know when people will ask you this kind of politics and how you think, what you think should be done. That is why we are just reminding ourselves all this. So now looking at the next thing is talking about money before we go into public finance. Money, as we know that economists don't just look at it as light as others, how other people look at it. We look at some majority of the time what we teach there in secondary school is looking at the characteristics of money and its own definition. Oh? And we kind of remind ourselves the evolution of money. Its evolution from the time of what we call the trade by barter system, how it started. How people went and started evolving from that kind of exchange. Because it is normally used, they said that is why it is popularly defined as what the medium of exchange. Exchange of goods and services. And sometimes they say it is generally acceptable. It has to have that generally acceptability. That general acceptability by everyone. Because if there is no that general acceptability, there's going to be trouble. You go somewhere and say, people will look at you, what are you bringing? And if that happens, then there's going to be trouble in the market. So it has to have that general acceptability. That is the first criteria it must possess. The first characteristic it must possess in its own value. And then when we look at the qualities it should also have is the issue of divisibility. It has to be divisible such that you should have different levels of it, different units, or different categories of its own prices and what it can buy. It's so unfortunate that in Nigeria we have lost like 4 or 5 of those divisions. Starting from the kobo. The kobo is gone due to the value. When we go to talk about the naira itself, starting from 5 naira, we're not talking about 2.2 naira 50 kobo again. We're talking about 5 naira now. Even the 5 naira is gone. Not to talk about even the 10 naira. The only thing that is still functioning now is that 20 naira. Because to the listing you can buy something with, you can buy this ordinary sachet water. That is the listing it can buy for you. Ordinary sweets here that your child will take. If it's a good one, it's from 15 naira and above. So it's so unfortunate that these own divisions are actually losing their focus. And all thanks to inflation. Consequences of inflation. We don't know where we are heading to. But yet, if you go to these countries, America still has those cents as still functioning. Those coins. So you begin to ask yourself, when will you actually bring back these coins? Maybe very soon, 100 naira will be in coin. Another president will come and say, no, we need coins. So let us just make this 100 naira to be in coins going. Cool? That is maybe the kind of what we will be dishing out our kids. Because it's very important. And we don't hope to get there, but it's unfortunate we're already there. But yes, maybe someone will come and say, okay, let us have 50 naira coins, 20 naira too. Maybe knowing that 10 naira is no longer viable. So we look at this divisibility. It's very important if you want to buy something and you have change. That is why we make use of that kind of divisible value, nature. And speaking of portability, it must also be portable. That is why we look at how we try to have larger notes, so they can carry you can carry your money at minimum risk. However, this is the 21st century. Since after the coming of that cashless policy, majority of us don't even mind actually keeping much cash. In fact, I, like myself now, I had to kind of query myself yesterday that I need to keep some cash. I've been walking around for like the past 1 week without a single cash in my hand. And I've been transacting everywhere I go with just transfer or use my ATM. I was like, I parked my bike somewhere and I was to give that person 100 naira, and I knew that I can't just transfer 100 naira to him. So that was why I just said, let me just, that the next POS man, that you should give me 5,000. At least let me just be a good Samaritan and keep something. Just to give that person 100 naira, I withdrew 5,000 just to keep in my wallet. But majority of the time, you don't feel the need. Wherever you go, people have already evolved. If they don't have the POS, they can take your transfer from either this or Pay or Money Point or any other bank if you like. So that is why this divisibility is no longer such a challenge. Majority of the time, people even prefer to just transfer because they don't have the change to. Cool? So that divisibility is very important, and the portability as well, most especially with respect to security. When you carry cash around, you're already like kind of putting a bounty on your head. People will be looking at, so that guy has this kind of money. If someone will just jump over your fence at night. If they're there in the bank in numbers, nobody knows anything. Who? No one knows anything that you are keeping there. So you are safer. So that is the portability side. Then we also have which other? It has to be durable. Yes, thank you very much. It should be durable. Durable in that you can't imagine spending such kind of, because normally whenever the CBN is going to print those currencies, you will be surprised the kind of billions they spend just to print a particular currency. So it's so expensive making it, just to give it that security that it needs. All the security, so that when someone easily makes a fake one, you can easily identify. So that kind of security that it goes through to make it genuine, it costs. So imagine it has been just made 1 year. In the next 2 to 3 months, it has been battered. When you look at it, it's so uncalled for. So it has to be durable. And sometimes people just want to keep it. Most especially the crazy ones that we had some days back, or some time back. People will just go and store money inside sockaway. Those money launderers. Because whoever is kind of keeping that kind of money inside the sockaway, you know that he doesn't want people to discover that he has stolen such kind of money. Go, they'll just put it in a sockaway. And people, these whistleblowers, found a way of knowing that something is happening here. And before you know it, a lot of things happened. And some of them were actually caught with this amount of money, most especially during the cashless period, when they said that they are going to change the currency. It was a trap. And that some of them already kept millions or billions there. So we wonder how they'll be bringing such kind of money inside the banks. That look, we need to put this, because as soon as you put it on check, you put it on record, people will see the BVN is there. So a lot of ways. I could recall someone telling me one of his boss at this NSCDC, this Nigerian Civil Defense Corps, NCSDC or something like that, that someone brought to his commandant there that he has some money that he wants to please have a way of dispersing it. Maybe putting it in different people's accounts. He was like, don't you have an account? And he doesn't want people to know that he has that kind of money. Then he was asking him that, like, how much is he talking about? He told me he has 43 billion. I said, what? 43 billion? He was so scared and he was annoyed at the same time. He said, please just walk out of my office. Just leave. He sent him away. You can't imagine 43 billion in cash, someone holding that. One of these generals from the army. In cash. He just couldn't conceive such kind of amount of money. So, this issue of durability is also very important. People need to know that when you keep it for a period of time, it will last. It's not just an ordinary paper. The kind of paper they will need to use is a qualitative one. It has to be ready to withstand the kind of challenges of time. And most especially sometimes we have this stupid and crazy attitude as Nigerians. We kind of like to misuse our own money anyhow. That was why at a point in time, they had a way of prosecuting these celebrities. That would be kind of throwing parties and throwing naira anyhow. You just go to the bank, take new notes, and you spreading them around. People matching them. When Nigeria is paying money for that, just simply because you think it's your own, that you can spend it, does not mean that it is yours. You're only holding the value, but that currency is for Nigeria, it's for the country, it's not yours. Because you didn't make it. You don't know how much we spent to make such kind of notes. That you hold the value, as in you can go and spend it. The minute you spend it, it's no longer yours. It goes back to the country. Maybe you go back to the bank and deposit it there. You have the figures, but we have the notes. Because we paid for the notes. So as such, the EFCC had a way of prosecuting a lot of them. One of which was this stupid guy, that hermaphrodite. Well, that one guy that made himself a woman. Is it Bobrisky? What did they call it? He was one of those people that suffered the consequences of throwing away naira anyhow. Cool? So, you have to look at all those issues with regard to durability. So, if we want it to be durable, we need to also make possible arrangements on how to enlighten our people, how to orient our people on how to handle the naira. Sometimes even these roadside mechanics, they contribute to how we must handle this naira. You just see someone when you just say, oh, you have done this, or you have done a particular job for you. He has done a particular job for you. You just kind of pay him something. Maybe you are looking for change. Then he just turns from his jeans side. The way he will bring them so squeezed and rumpled. You just like kind of remove some and just give you that. You hold this one. I'll be like, what are you giving me?
At times there is some iron in it. At times you may find out that it has this iron.
Which iron?
Oil.
This black oil, of course. Most of the time, this the grease.
Yes.
After touching an engine with the black hands and everything, they'll just hold it like that, and they don't care. They'll just go and throw it to one of these garo sellers. And for him now, he has arrived. He has really worked, and let them know that this is coming from a mechanic. All those boys, they need to also be reoriented, because they contribute to the depreciation of the naira quality, the naira notes, of course. So that is one thing to look at. Then you quickly go into.
So before you move ahead,
Yes.
I'd like to ask a question.
Okay, on money.
The dependency of the dollar not at the international market contribute to the devaluation of naira currency.
The supremacy of the dollar, or the dependency of the dollar or naira. No. Which one are you trying to talk
What
about?
I'm saying is that you see at the international markets, dollar is the powerful currency being used exchange.
Yes.
What I'm asking is that in terms of the naira notes, those things or those dependency of the dollar for the SM contribute to the population of notes.
The dependency on dollar, not of the dollar.
Dollar.
Oh, yes. The way everything is kind of used in dollar being the kind of the baseline for exchange, for international, what they call the hard currency or the international exchanges. It's not just because it is the one being used. There are a lot of politics, international politics, happening in the name of debt. When they say that the money you have with you is not enough to give you what you need to handle, or let me say to control your people. Or let's say to kind of manage the running of your government, salaries, projects, capital projects. And people are, most especially people are complaining of poverty. So they say that you would want to create jobs for people to get employed, and you don't have the money. You need to go to one of these international giants, either the IMF, that's the International Monetary Fund, or you go to the World Bank. Either of these two, you must go to borrow money there. That borrowing that you will do, they'll set conditions for you. They'll set conditions for you. Because in the first place, they will try to tell you that all this wahala that you have been suffering, now you have come to us that you can't actually handle your country. It's because of the welfare package that you've been doing for your people. You've been doing things for free for them. We need to cut those unwanted expenses that you are doing for your country. In the name that they are giving you money to give your people, but on the other hand, they are giving you policies to cripple those same people again. That is the number one thing they will do. That is why people will be saying that you see that they are not to get those trillions of naira in debt. You see people that really know what is going on. They cry that we don't need that money because they know the consequences of borrowing such kind of money. They must put some terms and conditions for it. One of which are these ones I'm talking about. You understand? So at the end of the day, when you come to the bottom line, the currency will come in. They will ask you to float your currency. Now that maybe your currency has been trying to stand on its own, on its feet, most especially if you are very strong enough, your exports are going. people are using your own currency too. You say people are coming to buy things from you. Before you know it, you ask them that since they are the ones buying, they should use your own currency too. So that currency could also what? You have more of it. If you have more of it, then you have enough to cater for your domestic needs, isn't it? So you don't need to borrow anything from that to you. So if you have that kind of balance, what they call balance of payments, or balance of trade rather, if any of those is strong enough, then you find out that even if you float your currency, because you're not the one buying, you're not the one consuming, so you see that the value of your own currency is appreciated. But they have made it such that whenever they give you that kind of debt, they will tell you to just go and do this project, do that, do this construction, do that, do those things. And I don't know, they mark you, when they give you the projects, they'll send their people from their place to come and be the contractors. They send their expatriates to be the top gainers in that same project that they are given. I know you're already seeing that, isn't it? When you see big projects around, you don't see our people there. You see a white man doing it. You really think it's by accident? That white man is getting millions of dollars. The few black people that are working with him there, they'll be giving peanuts. And they will be saying that they have given your people jobs. They have created jobs. What kind of jobs are they creating? What kind of jobs are they creating? So that is why it's very important that a lot of politics there when you talk about dollar and this dollar naira exchange. Whenever they give you this kind of loans, they'll tell you to float your currency. That floating means that you should devalue it. And as soon as when something is devalued, of course it will lose value in currency. It will lose its value. You see the dollar appreciating while your naira is going down. So that is actually what is going on there when you're talking about this money issue of inflation taking place. Yes. So speaking of public finance, under public finance, what do we normally discuss under public finance? I think this is where we discuss the issues of revenue and expenditure of the government. Who? We're talking about revenue, we're dealing with taxes. We have different types of taxes. Who? These taxation policies, there is no country that can actually survive without this taxation. That's what they call public finance. Talking about how the government tries to gain something, to do works for you, and at the same time to maintain itself. Because the government cannot actually just survive without taxes. That is why even now that we have been hearing about labor unions looking for increment in their own wages because of the inflationary episode that we have been having. You see that they will still say, we might increase for you, but our taxes still remain. Because the government cannot survive without the taxes too. That is why sometimes one of the things that we try to define here, when defining taxation, you will talk about something called tax evasion and tax avoidance. Who? Tax evasion and tax avoidance. You need to find ways of understanding those, concepts when they would transfer to taxation. And these types of taxes that we have the pay as you earn, that is the pay-go. We have the progressive tax. We have, which one is this? The retrogressive. Oh? Progressive and retrogressive. The progressive is more or less like the pay as you earn. Go? There's another one that is also retrogressive. Regressive. Go? Yeah, well, I know that is a proportionate tax, depending on the kind of income you have, and at the same time, the kind of businesses you go through. Cool? Some businesses have higher taxes while others have lower taxes. Depending on the pay that you get to, the higher you're earning, or the higher, and sometimes it's not just because they're not taxing you because of your earning high, but because of where you are using, the kind of maybe pollution that you are causing for the environment. They put more taxes for you, that you are causing environmental pollution, and the government has to be the one to take care of that kind of environment. So as such, your taxes will be high. Maybe you have some engines that are kind of causing a lot of troubles around. Maybe the waste that you also bring out in your own production process. They put more taxes for you, so as to maintain the environment as well. So all this you have to look at when you are discussing the issue of taxes. So it's good you remember these things. Then under this public finance too, so this is still where we still talk about balance of payments. So when we talk about revenue and expenditure accounts, we've talked about revenue before, which is under the taxes. While the expenditure, on the other hand, is where something comes in. In fact, this is where you get the kind of foundation of this, what we call the three-sector model. For those that are into real-time economics, I'm talking about now. Most especially those of that in level 300. At least, I don't know, you know the two-sector model is IDAMA. Go?
Yes.
The two-sector model is talking about income and talking about C plus I. Go? That is consumption plus investment. Go? When the three-sector model, we now talk about C plus I plus G. That is the government expenditure comes in there. So another three-sector model, we're discussing that for plus G. Why does government expand? Why does the government expand? Why do they expand? Of course, we've made mention of how they do it. First of all, they have to look at payment of these salaries, for instance. Well, you have to look at this. There's something they call the capital and recurrent expenditure. Cool? The expenditure itself is capital and recurrent. The recurrent starts with talking about the maintenance of the government itself. Speaking of the salaries that they pay to the government workers, that is the recurrent most of the time. And the capital expenditure has to do with the kind of structure that they normally do, the infrastructure that they provide, public welfare, this public social amenities that they provide, maybe the construction of schools, construction of roads, hospitals. All those are capital expenditure, and it's not always all the time. The only thing that can be maybe recurring with respect to the capital expenditure is the maintenance. Because if you really want it to last, you have to be maintaining it regularly. Even maybe after maybe 2 years or 5 years. But don't let it to be that long without you coming back to see what you have done before. Because our people could be destructive. They could be vandals, which is unfortunate. Someone will just say, I use government property, so you can't stop me from doing this or from doing that. Once they say the government property, so you think it's not yours. Maybe because someone is there on top. You have no idea that as soon as he leaves that office, he has nothing to lose. While even he is in the office, he has nothing to lose. They came and constructed street lights for you in your own locality. You are the ones enjoying the light. And that one stupid guy will come and be looking at, this is a government property, we have a way of stealing it. Or maybe we can destroy it. We don't want to, we don't even want to see it. Because he has already, you see, look at those things that have destroyed now. Just because we have this kind of attitude. Within this classroom, you can see how people have destroyed some seats. And nobody cares. So this is why it's important. This government expenditure will comprehend it very well. What does government expend? And what's the rationale behind it? It's for our own good. Not for any other person's good. And whenever you see something like this for the government, it's also put it at the back of this is mine. When you see someone trying to do some wreckage, do as if it is your own personal property that he or she is touching. That is how you become a good Samaritan. Because that is what we should do. Don't just be so complacent that it's none of my business now. No, it's your business. Because when there is darkness and they begin to start robbing you around that area, you'll be the first people to be suffering from that kind of consequences. So that is why you have to think. So this expenditure is very important. We understand it and also comprehend it. Know how to make our students to understand that it is for our own good, not just for the sake of someone trying to have his political scorecard to be high. Of course, they do it for that the majority of the time. But at the end of the day, it is you who will benefit. So now let us quickly go into these theories of demand and supply. Theories of demand and supply. Another theories of demand and supply, we'll quickly go into it. Like I said the other time, we are going to look at the 5 laws. Go. So we'll look at the 5 laws of demand and supply. The 5 laws of demand and supply. And the first law of demand and supply gives us this downward sloping curve. I'm fond of asking this kind of question. The first law of demand and supply, that is D, price and quantity. That is the first law. Which states that the higher the price, the lower the quantity demanded. And vice versa, the lower the price, the higher the quantity demanded. But this is talking about keeping things normal. What is a ceteris paribus? Ceteris paribus. That is other things remaining equal. But we are speaking about a normal good, some goods, the lower the price, the lower the quantity demanded. People will say, this is not the original one. Most especially Nigerians now. If you want to sell something good, don't ever leave it with the same price with the lesser one. When you have a qualitative something and they see it that you are selling it, like our people are have understood Nigerians very well here. That is why if they are selling a particular yard here in Kano State at 2,000 per yard, when they go to Abuja, they sell it 6,000 per yard. Because Abuja people will say, this is the original. As soon as you bring it and you say this is 6,000 per yard, this is the original one. And as soon as you make a mistake of bringing it down to 5,000, and someone comes and says, this person is selling it 5,000. No, this is a fake one. Well, even if it's the original one, they say it's a fake one. They will not buy it. So this law of demand and supply is not going to work for those idiots. So the only way you just you cruise them, sell it to them at that high price. Before you know it, you two have arrived. So the first law is not actually working on all commodities, but like I said, on normal commodities. And the second law, we said, is the law of supply. This is quick enough. This is the second law. It's talking about the higher the quantity supplied of a particular commodity, the higher the price, the higher the supply, the higher the quantity supplied. Meaning that producers have this kind of attitude. The beginning they see that people are already, the price of something is high. They will want to quickly make as much profit as possible from there. So they will supply more. And the minute they see that the price is going down, they also withhold supply. They will create something we call artificial scarcity. So that people begin to kind of miss that product and say, this thing is no longer there. People just quickly buy as much as we can. They are very fond of doing this for fuel too. Sometimes if they realize that the market value of petrol is falling, people are not just ready to buy. Before you know it, they'll just withhold supply. They'll create that artificial scarcity for you. So this is under normal circumstances. So the third law of demand and supply is the price mechanism. The equilibrium. So this is the PA. Where there is an intersection between the demand curve and the supply curve. So that is where the price mechanism works. This is the so-called invisible hand that we've been hearing about in economics. This equilibrium quantity. So where they intersect, you have the equilibrium price and equilibrium quantity there. And people will say that is where it should stay, where production should remain. And this is the third law of demand and supply. And the fourth law continues with this. This is the third. Now the fourth. Says that when we have a shift in demand from the now we say like D1, D2. But there is a shift in the demand curve, maybe to the right or to the left. Whether it is inner shift or an outward shift, there is a change around. Something happens. The demand has already increased. And automatically the supply also went high. So this is what they're talking about. And vice versa, if it goes down, there's going to be a change somewhere. Are we getting it?
Yes, sir.
So this is exactly what we're talking about. That is the fourth law. What the fifth law, on the other hand, is talking about a shift in supply. This is D. No, this is S. S1, S2. Demand remains. So this shift. This is E1. This is E2. This is P1, P2. This is Q1. This is Q2. This is the fifth law. That is when we have a shift in supply. Because a shift in supply rather here, if you look at it, what happens?
There is an inward shift in the supply.
This is outward. That is an outward shift to the right. Cool? Because we have S1 and S2. So if there's an increase in supply, the quantity demanded from Q1 here, the price will definitely fall. That is what happens. That is the consequences. Increase in supply will create what? A decrease in the price. And of course, an increase in the quantity demanded. Are we getting it? More supply, the more quantity demanded, and less the price will fall. And this is why if they don't want to really run at loss, they'll just quickly have a way of withholding supply. But this in most cases does not happen with perishable goods. They can't actually withhold supply, because as soon as they withhold the supply, they're going to be in trouble. So this is how we're talking about when we were discussing these 5 laws of demand and supply. I think we are clear with that now. And then we can talk about the types of demand we have. That is speaking of the normal commodities. We have these articles of ostentation. Cool? Or if we like, we can think about things like the elasticity of demand, as well as the elasticity of supply. We also teach that there. And this elasticity is simply talking about the flexibility or otherwise that could happen with a particular product or commodity. For instance, now, some goods have what we call the perfectly inelastic demand curve. The demand curve has different ways of changing itself. This law, we've been talking about the normal demand curve. Cool? And this demand curve happens when we say a particular commodity is having a perfectly inelastic value. Yeah, talking about elasticity of demand. We have something like this, and we have perfectly elastic. Cool? We have something we call fairly elastic. There's another one. This is fairly inelastic. And the last one, I think, is the unitary. This is also perfectly inelastic. And this one is perfectly elastic. And this is very inelastic. And this is the finally elastic. Let's go for the unit. In any case, by trying to look at, let's say this is 1, 2, 1, 2. They move in those one, that's not unitary elastic. Oh? And then this perfectly elastic, this perfectly elastic curve, when we look at it, it normally happens when we have commodities like salt. Oh? Salt, they say, is always having a perfectly inelastic demand. Irrespective of how high the price goes and how low it goes. Someone will say, that is the price of salt has gone down. Let me go and buy more sacks of salt. You will not need it because that will not make you to consume more. Because even if you want to consume more, you are going to be in trouble. Your soup will even spoil in the first place. So you don't want to wait there to think about going beyond what you need. You must no matter how high or low it goes, you still buy the same quantity. And then we have the perfectly elastic demand. This perfectly elastic demand, they say that sometimes it only happens in what we call the perfectly competitive market. Oh? When we say that there is a perfect competition in a market, we're talking about there are a lot of things that we look at there. If you want to take a look at a typical example of a perfectly competitive market, it's like if you go to Kwali now. Majority of the people that are visiting Kwali know how much they sell a particular yard or a particular atampa. So, as soon as someone comes in, especially if that is why one of the perfectly elastic conditions, perfect elastic conditions is that there must be perfect information. Customers must have information of all the products, how much it is being sold. So, if someone comes with that kind of information in his head, knowing that the sellers at Tampa 5,000, and the first person that is going to come, just enter it, I will jam him on the road. Come to my shop. They say, how much is this? They will think that he doesn't know the price. I'm sure they say, this is 10,000. I say 10,000. I say, okay, no problem. You will not buy anything from that shop. People have that kind of information. So if you dare to increase the price, that's why they say that it's very dangerous to increase price here. As soon as you increase, people will buy it all. And if you decrease, they will leave it for you. That is why some people try in the properly competitive market, if they really want to kind of compete, they try as much as possible, even if it is the slightest decrease from the market price. When you do that, people will be rushing to that shop. People will be rushing to your shop because of perfect competition. So such kind of commodities that have this tendency, perfectly elastic curve. If you know what you are doing as a marketer, you dare not to increase that price. Because as soon as people know that you are selling that product at higher price than others, they will just desert you. No one will buy anything from you. So it's a kind of technique that one has to understand very well and know how to use it. And when they say it is fairly elastic, it means it is somewhat, it can change. Those are the normal demand curve here. Cool? And when it's fairly inelastic, it's also talking about that particular product has a kind of elasticity issues. Meaning that people they're not into that, it has a lot of substitutes. When they say a particular demand is fairly inelastic, it means people have substitutes. They can easily change to one product if you are not careful. Cool? So that is why you have to be careful about that. And when you look at the nutrient elasticity, is another thing to think about. This is just like when they are moving in 1-1, like I said, the same percentage, they move at the same rate. The increment or decrease. That's what we call the unitary elasticity. So that is about that. I have touched what we can touch in this theory of demand and supply, as well as the elasticity of demand and supply. What I would want us to touch next is national income accounting. I will summarize this for the next class when we come. We'll teach teaching methodologies, classroom management, and maybe motivation. So that when you come back after the New Year break, this long break I will take, Dr. Isa will continue with you. He will come and handle like 3 classes, then do CA for you. Then we will now prepare for exams. Cool? So inshallah, let us see how we can treat this national income accounting now. Starting with GDP. That is gross domestic product. GDP, they said, is talking about the total production by members of a particular country, or let me say residents rather. Total production by the residents, irrespective of whether they are citizens or expatriates. Provided the production was made inside that country, that will constitute the GDP. That is the gross domestic product. While the GNP, on the other hand, is that's a gross national product. It's talking about the production and the distribution of goods and services that was only conducted by the citizens, the nationals, within the country and outside. Provided they are citizens, they are somewhere conducting business. So as citizens of that country, the GNP will constitute even the money from abroad, from other countries. So it takes only for the citizens, that is the GNP. But the GDP takes care of only the residents. They don't talk about nationals that are producing elsewhere outside. So it depends on which one the country is willing to look at. But in most cases, they look at both. Cool? Those to see the strength and their own capabilities. Only you notice that your GNP is higher, and noting that majority of the production coming from there is in another country. They are there increasing another country's GDP. While your GDP here is low, while the GNP is high, then you think about what policies can you make use of to ensure that the majority of the bulk of the work comes to you. It's not just about understanding this concept. It's about knowing what to do when you look at the figures, the indices. When you see that your GNP is higher, and yet majority of where it is coming is from outside, that means your GDP, you're not actually growing. The people are out there growing other people's countries. So you have a way of calling them back. Either you call them back, or you have a way of enticing them to come back. And if they don't want to come back, government have ways of plotting for you. Just come back whether you like it or not. They'll say you must come and invest here. Or maybe they'll look at what is actually making you to stay there and not coming back home. They'll bring policies that will entice you to come back home. They'll look at the kind of taxes that you are paying there for the country. They'll say that when you come home, we will give you more. And if it is the market you are looking for, we'll have the market here. So knowing this kind of politics is very important so that you can regulate your country very well. Are we getting it? So that is about this GNP and GDP politics. While the income per capita, on the other hand, is speaking of the income per head. Cool?
Yes,
When you divide the GDP, cool?
Yes,
By the average population, by the population of the country, you have the per capita income. Even though some people will say that when you say that you are doing that, you're not actually getting the income per head. But that is how it will look like. You see someone, he alone harnessing billions, while others are not even making anything, and they will use that income per capita to say that because maybe what Dangote has been making, the two of us now they will divide the whole income by the population. And so that is the average income that we are earning. While in true picture, that is not what we are actually earning. This average day a Nigerian is earning this. The income per capita is that. They will use that as an index. Well, that's why some people think that it's not actually a true measure of income.
standard of living.
Yes, standard of living, of course. Yes, thank you very much. But it's not a true standard of measure of true standard of living. It's not a true measure of standard of living. So we have to look at some other factors that are actually at play here. Then you have theory of costs and international trade. Theory of costs here, I've already made mention of how it works. Some time ago we said that under this theory of costs, we'll be looking at these long-run and short-run periods. Cool? You have what they call the average costs. Cool? Average cost, total cost, marginal cost. Cool? Fixed cost. All those costs. And sometimes the most important of them is the lack. What is the long-run average cost curve? That long-run average cost curve will give you a lot of things that you need to understand if you want to understand a business period. Of course, before you consider it, you also have to look at the value of this thing called marginal cost. Marginal cost curve. Let's see how we're smoking in it. You have some. Oh? LMC. You have to put the SAT here, the short-run average cost curve. These small ones. So why are they? Let me say this is not actually where I'm supposed to hit it. Where the lag is at its lowest, then hits that comes the long run marginal cost curve. And this is the optimum. This is the optimal level that you should use for your cost. Meaning that if you really want to make more profit, look for what the lowest cost you can incur. In terms of production here, this is talking about real-time business. As a firm, if you want to produce well, then your marginal cost curve, if it's going to be incurred, should cut at the lowest point, whereby the short-run average cost curve is at the lowest end of the long-run average cost curve. Then the LMC should cut under there. If it cuts there, that means you are cutting your supply you are cutting your cost from there. You don't want to incur more cost from there, because if you dare cross that, you might be at loss, or not making enough profit that you deserve. Are we getting it? Yes, sir. That is why I just brought this. But this is not actually a secondary school economics. It's at this your level. I'm just reminding you, when you go there and you are actually into real-time economics, you can recall what we just did here. Yes, it should be there. It should be there. So that is about that. Then international trade. I said here we'll discuss this somehow, somewhere. International trade. This is speaking about, just like the way we're talking about this exchange, this naira dollar politics, what we call the balance of trade, talking about import and exports here. Cool? How we should import, how we should export more, if we want to have a favorable balance of trade. Cool? Our exports should be higher than our imports, because the more we import, the less our development, and the less power we have for our own for our own currency too. Because we are now the ones giving. If we are not the ones giving, then we have power over our currency. You see the value of naira appreciating. So this is what is important, talking about this international trade, import and export. Then speaking of multinational corporations, this normally comes at SS3. Multinational corporations. This is why we talk about these oil companies, and that are kind of handled by other expatriates, people coming from abroad. Those companies like Shell that is producing oil in Nigeria. We all know that it's not for Nigerians. Oh? Chevron, Mobil, all those are multinational corporations. There are a lot of politics there. And you need to sit down and understand them, because there is also a book for that particular course, and then talking about those corporations, how they operate, the kind of taxes our government get from them, the kind of expectations that are coming that are for them. So that is all. We'll see next week, inshallah. We'll start with teaching methods, then classroom management, and see how we can finish with that. Any question? Any question? No question. Right. Okay. Now everything is just too clear. Everything is flowing. Cool. Now, you said the basics. So alhamdulillah. So see you next week. To Madalla, you're welcome.